Lawrence County SportsNet podcast time. Here at lcsportsnet.com, Lawrence County SportsNet powered by LCAP. It's a roundtable discussion as we get ready for opening week of the 2024 WPIAL and District 10 football season. Here in the new studios, our broadcast and every podcast this year brought to you by Penn, Ohio Bottled Water. Give them a call for your home bottled water delivery systems, and of course, ask about their custom label options. With that, let's bring in the crew. Eric Thomas, Tim Continenza, Lee Moan, all joining us in the brand new studio. Shout out Janae Avery, first off, everything that she's done to get this place up and running. We're in heaven right now. I think
fantastic.
Eric's jaw about hit the floor when he walked in here.
I can't even repeat without a delay, a dump, whatever, what I said when I walked in the door. This is unbelievable.
It was what?
Exactly. There you go.
He even has it ready for us. Good for you.
Perfect. Appreciate everybody coming in, and we're off and running. First game's coming up on Friday for 7 of the 8 schools in Lawrence County. Union will be utilizing the Week 0 for what it is truly meant to be, Lee. They're going to take the second scrimmage, which Coach Nee basically has said, that's kind of what he had in mind with a smaller team from the beginning. Already had things scheduled the last 2 years, but not a bad idea to take the second scrimmage coming up next week.
No. One of the few schools are going to be doing it. Most schools are choosing to play that Week 0 game. I'm still going to say Week 1. But anyways, that's what it's there for, So get the young team, get them prepared, and getting ready, because they're moving up to Double A this year, which is a big step.
Yeah, they're moving up to Double A. We'll talk about the full realm of the classifications. I want to ask Tim here first, though. Tim joined us this past week for our tour around camp on Monday. Just some thoughts about any individual school or just as a whole.
I think the one I'm really intrigued by the most is Newcastle. With the new leadership, obviously the background that he has, and the players and the talent level, that's there from the other sports. And let's see what Tyrell Harris can do at quarterback, and I really think they could be an explosive team. Now, I don't know what their final record will be or anything like that, but I think they could be a team that's going to be a surprise team in the county.
Yeah, let's talk about the Canes here first on our preview show podcast here leading up to the start of this 2024 season. Eric, you and I talked earlier in the week about this Newcastle team, and Tyrell Harris, he threw a couple of absolute dimes in their scrimmage. This is a team that very legitimately has a shot to be going 5-0 when you get to conference time. I mean, General McLean is going to be very tough to start. They have a lot of players back, but they're a team that is definitely a beatable team. Knock, we'll talk about that one in a minute. Week 4 is going to be almost a pseudo playoff game because of the new wild card system going on. But Hopewell, Highlands, Yock in there, those are all very winnable games. You're talking about a Canes team that could be 5-0 going into the trip down to Heinz Field.
Yeah, I was going to ask who's that 6th game after if they go 5-0. Right, that's going to be an interesting one to see where they're at. But look, Knock last year was sort of in the same position. They kind of had to regroup. They had a very senior laden team. I saw them. I think it was the 3rd week of the season last year. They were really riding high, a lot of momentum. And it worked out for them down the stretch. I just think when you take a guy like Freddie Mazzocco, I mean, we all saw what he did and what he's done with that Neshannock program and how he put them on the map. They're ranked 7th in the state preseason this year, not because of what's there this year, but because what they've done and what comes back for that team. And that's all him and that blueprint that he had there. So if the new mindset and the new kind of aura around the team works, they might be able to go a couple rounds with Aliquippa. I don't know that I would right now call an upset right there, because we got to see what Aliquippa, we expect them obviously to go to a state championship again. Yeah. Somebody asked me a couple weeks ago, they said, what's Aliquippa's toughest challenge? I said their second team. I mean, that's pretty much fact right there. But we'll see if this team gets a lot of momentum in the first month or so of the season, if they can slug it out with them for a couple quarters.
Lee, I know you got to see it up close and personal 12 years ago. Coach Mazzocco's first year at Neshannock. Remember who they played in Week 3, that Stowe Rocks game. Stowe Rocks coming off of a couple of great seasons. Local coach and Dan Bradley, that was his first year coaching at Stowe Rocks. And basically the unthinkable of an Oceanic team that had 5 playoff appearances ever, taking down a team like Stowe Rocks that was, I think, ranked number 2 in the state at that point. Same thing. You could legit have a scenario where you have Coach Mo first year against a first-year coach, the interim coach with Aliquippa. It's halfway through the season, but I mean, it's the parallels are very much there, and you got a very fast team that Newcastle is going to be trying to exploit those benefits all year.
And remember when Coach Mazzocco took that job at Neshannock, people were asking, why are you doing that? You can't win there. You will never win there. Mm-hmm. He proved them wrong. Now he goes to Newcastle. How come you're going to Newcastle? It's been down. It's been down for so many years. What are you going to do? Don't doubt Coach Mo.
Right. Well, it's been down for so many years. Don't forget, it's only been about 5 or 6 years that they haven't been the all-time winningest program in WPIL history. Now I think
number 3.
Three is it? Okay.
Yeah. Aliquippa, Jeanette, then Newcastle.
Washington, I know, was getting close as well. I wasn't sure if they had made the eclipse, but yeah, Newcastle, Kyrell Harris, and the basketball players coming out. Damian Harrison, a 6'4" receiver. I mean, Tim, we saw him up close and personal.
We've mentioned this many times. The athletes that are available at Newcastle should give them opportunities to make plays and keep them in any ball game. Mm-hmm. And then if the defense if the front 7 can become a unit and really keep pressure on a quarterback that's going to keep them in the pocket, don't let them kind of dance outside and maybe use their legs or find an open receiver type scenario. If that defense gets to that level that we know Coach Mo has done in the past with some of his squads, yeah, I still think this is the surprise possible team of the county. I'm not saying they're going to win every game. I'm not saying they're not going to lose some close games. But I don't think they're going to get blown out at all this year.
He did 2 things on social media this offseason that stood out to me. Number 1, he posted video of the weight room on day 1 of workouts. And that wasn't just to show people in Newcastle what was going on. That was to show the rest of the WPIL. I'm not messing around here. This is
a jam-packed weight room,
exactly,
by the way.
With 50-some kids or whatever that he had working out that day.
And the numbers are there, as you just mentioned.
And the second thing that he did was the other day when some of these previews start coming out, and he posted, all he did was simply post I don't know which publication it was, but he posted the projections for the season, which had Newcastle finishing last, and he just sort of was, okay, that's
we'll
fine.
Take that challenge.
Yeah,
exactly.
Predicted to finish last in
Put
the
that in the
Parkway.
bulletin board.
Sounds that's exactly what he and the Canes are anxious to hear. Locker board material. Last thing you want to give a Coach Mazzocco crew for sure. Then they begin with games against General McLean, Hopewell, and Highlands. The issue is, once they do start conference play, 3 straight road games at Aliquippa, at Montour, at West Allegheny. That is a juggernaut way to start your Parkway Conference. But we have full belief that the Canes can be something special. Let's flip over to Shenango real quick, a team that is hoping to try to make the turnaround, missed the playoffs by a game last year. Coach Graham, 1A school Shenango. Shenango and Union, they've kind of been in this same battle the last few years of the numbers game, getting those numbers out consistently. But you do have a 3-year starter in quarterback coming back to lead the way. It's a question of, do you have the weapons around them? But they have a couple of young players as well. Lee, this is a team that, if they stay healthy, and that's a big if, it always is a big if with them. Yeah. But you know that Coach Graham is able to get a good product out on that field.
Yeah, it's all going to ride around the quarterback. Quarterback play has been very inconsistent last year or two. So if they can get that consistent play, and you said the injuries have killed them over the last couple of years, especially last year too. They were doing okay, and then the injury bug just killed them. I know they only had like 20 players for a game, so it's going to be a key for them to stay healthy for sure.
I think the other issue, too, is you take a look at the schedule that they ended up getting. It includes a trip down to Fort Cherry, Eric. How nice is that? They got more 1A opponents this year, which was something he wanted. But, by the way, you get to play the defending state runner-ups.
And, not only that, where do they win games? Because, to me, the question with them, like you just said, is their schedule. Because they're in a division that we'll talk about Laurel here in a little bit, but that features Laurel, who we think might actually be on the rise. Mm-hmm. You've got Neshannock, you've got Rochester, and you have Southside. Where else can you win a game? Where can you pick a couple of these games off? Because they're going to have to win a lot early on in the season to try to cement themselves, and then maybe hopefully pick somebody off somewhere in the mix if they're going to, if they're going to be in the playoff race the rest of the way. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, fair point. They got to play against both the WPL champion and runner-up from a year ago. You didn't mention Northgate in the section, who was an up-and-coming team.
They're very tough. Yeah, 8 starters back on both sides of the ball. They were 5-5 last year. That team, it just seems like Shenango they're kind of like looking up at everybody because it seems like everybody around them, and you're kind of excluding Neshannock in this, but you have Northgate who's really good. You got to play Fort Cherry, but it's a bad year for them to have those pieces there because everybody else around them has pieces and seems like they're on the come up too. So that's why they got to pick something off early.
I was going to say, one thing I think is going to be really important for them is can they get their offensive line situated and playing as a unit and being able to block, make some holes for the running game and shorten the games. Yeah. Because they have a quarterback who can run the offense. The question is, can you keep him healthy enough? And that's been part of the problems. They got knocked out of the game a few times the last few years. And, so if they can get the offensive line to be able to be successful, get some holes, get the running game going to a certain level, and then be able to run the offense, I think that's really going to be key for them to find that success.
Yeah, versatility is something Coach Graham mentioned, not only with the skill players, but a lot of those tight ends or even running backs who have moved to the line as necessary and might be necessary over the course of this year as well. Shenango starts with a home game against New Brighton before taking on Elwood City on the road week 1, and then Mohawk, their final non-conference game before they start in the Big 7.
Got to go 2-1 there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Let's go up north real quick to Wilmington. Greyhounds, they've, like Neshannock, moved down from Class 2A into Class 1A and immediately become not only a front runner in District 10, but Eric, they're also ranked in the state, are they not?
Yeah, they're ranked right behind Neshannock in the state preseason. This is according to Penn Live, that the state rankings, Neshannock was 7th and Wilmington, I think, was 8th, or they were one away from each other somewhere. 1A is, I think, the best classification in the state this season. I really do, and especially in this neck of the woods in the WPIL. I mean, you're talking, do the math right now. You have Neshannock, you have Fort Cherry, you have Clairton, who last year really showed some teeth, and I think they might be a big problem.
They have almost everybody back,
Almost everybody back. You have Wilmington in District 10. So out of those teams that we mentioned, the 3 of them, there's only one spot between Neshannock, Fort Cherry, and Clairton. Then you have to factor in Wilmington somewhere. And, oh, by the way, Westinghouse is single A this year, too. So throw a dart. But, you're getting a representative from this side of the state out of that group somewhere. Who's it going to be? I have no clue right now. But that is as tough as it gets. I mean, you might have the 2A runner-up from a season ago and the champ in single A last year and the state runner-up in single A last year have to do battle for one spot in the state final.
Absolutely incredible. And you know what Coach Fillion is going to do when he has literally 1.5 seniors, a senior and a first-year playing senior. They're almost a year away from their peak, but, the fact that they're already ranked, Tim, you saw up there in person, they are getting at it quickly.
And, he has good numbers coming out. We were talking to him. I think he said over 40. I think it was like 43 players on the team this year. So that's going to be, really important because then he's going to be able to take advantage of those numbers and try to keep people healthy and keep them moving in and out of his system. And I think it's going to be really important. But more than anything for them, it's they just got to play Hounds football. That's what they've known for. That's what they've done. Yeah, they're coming down. I know the numbers in enrollment's down, but this is a program who's has built-in success.
Lee, the best news though moving down to 1A is they're away from Farrell, at least not having to play them probably 3 times in a year is what they've done in recent memory, unfortunately too.
Yeah, Farrell has been outstanding. And how about the new facilities up there? Farrell, they just continue to improve that stadium up there. How
about new facilities at Wilmington, by the way? New turf, new lights
new
there.
Turf, everything.
We will be up there for football not until week 6 or 7, but we will be checking out, we have a doubleheader soccer game. Put that on the record for next Thursday. A girls-boys doubleheader that we will be checking out. That is on August the 29th that we will be down there for that game. Real quick before we hit a break, Union, again, we mentioned they're going to take that second scrimmage. They're going to be taking Burgettstown on in that second scrimmage. Tim, it's a brand new team, basically. The leading receiver coming back is Lucas Stanley, 1 catch for 4 yards. Oh, by the way, he's now going to quarterback. The next leading receiver, this is my favorite part, is the left tackle because he caught a backwards pass for 20 yards last year. So, I mean, it is completely fresh and new. They do bring Maddox Thompson back. He was part of the state runner-up team 2 years ago, transferred to Newcastle. He's back at Union. He won't be playoff eligible, but at least some experience for Lucas Stanley to throw to. And you also got a guy by the name of Jamel Mitchell who is going to be the person to go with.
Hey, one thing you know about Coach Nee is he loves a challenge. And this season has all that in front of him. But when we talked to him, just seeing the excitement in his voice about this team, and putting players in different positions and seeing what they can do. Now, when you talk about Lucas, I mean, you got a leader there, and you're putting your best athlete at quarterback, which you need to do, especially at the single A level, or actually double A level this year. But this is important. I mean, I think what they got to do is just establish what they've been doing the last 2 years. It's an experienced team that it's brand new players in new positions. So it may take a couple weeks for them to really get their footing. However, they have the pedigree to get there. They're not as experienced. They may not have as athletic as they were, but they got enough players to make plays.
Yeah, but playing in 2A is going to
be a challenge.
Real challenge.
No question about it.
Well, you said it perfectly right there. They're playing in 2A. They competed in all their 2A games last year, including beating Mohawk in their best season ever, beating Elwood City, a 2A team. They've competed in it, but Eric, can they do it for the entire season?
Yeah. It's going to be tough because we know it's lurking in 2A with Steel Valley. But Coach Nee's background and his connections to some of these coaches that he's been with in the past, mostly every one of them. I mean, Bob Palco, certainly one of them. Bob Palco built programs everywhere he was at. I mean, he took Mount Lebanon from to go play for a state championship. So, I mean, if anybody has learned how to do this, I think it's Coach Nee. But then on the other hand, I look at this too, and I think very similar to what Coach Mazzocco is going through at Newcastle. I think sometimes guys need that challenge. I think they, it's like when you sort of gamble and you lose and you want to keep going after it. You need something taken away from you so you have that drive to go after it. And this wasn't a choice. I mean, he was going to lose these players no matter what because of graduation. I think it really is going to drive him to. They might not be the best Union team that we see this season, but I think you're going to get the best out of him as a coach because that challenge is what's really going to drive him the whole season.
No week 0 game again for the Scotties. They get to start by playing a ranked team in Class 1A in the Shannock, and then they get to travel down to Prexyville to take on 2A Washington. Those are their non-conference games before they they travel to Riverside for a big conference opener, and that will be the game for sure. That will be definitely telling for what kind of team Union has. One more thing on Jamel Mitchell I had to say real quick. Just keeps getting better and better as a player, almost to the point it's almost like he doesn't know how good he can be. And if he has the year that we think he can, those offers are going to start coming in hot and heavy, and I think for good reason.
And there's no question. I think his athleticism, what he brings on, the defensive side of the ball, is just really important for them. And he's a leader. And they need that. They have it on the offensive side. They need one on the defensive side, and a guy who can show up anytime they ask him to.
So there's half of Lawrence County with the week 0 games scheduled. What we're going to do, we're going to step aside, take a quick break, and when we come back, we will preview the 2 county versus county games. Elwood City traveling to Laurel and Neshannock hosting Mohawk when we return here on the Lawrence County Podcast Week 0 Preview Show.
Penn Ohio Bottled Water Company for the fastest and most efficient bottled water delivery service in the area. Penn Ohio offers bottled water ranging from 16.9-ounce bottles to 5-gallon jugs, perfect for your next event or office water cooler system. Also, don't forget to ask about their custom labeling options. Visit PennOhioBottledWater.com for more information and to get a quote on their delivery services. Whether it's at home, in the office, or on the sidelines, Penn Ohio has you covered.
Today. To work, to the store, to Grandma's house. Acts can get you there, but it's much more than a ride. It's a joyride.
I'm helping people. I'm getting them out of their house. I'm taking them to their doctors, to the grocery store.
They say I'm entertaining. Okay, we laugh, we joke, we sing, we tell stories.
They're like family to us.
even if it's the same day. To schedule your joyride, call AXE today.
Because coming in every day is different.
How can you not enjoy these kids coming up and hugging you and giving you these great smiles all throughout the day?
Seeing the progress that our kids make every single day is one of the reasons I love coming to school.
What should we do? We have fun.
LCAP Early Learning Centers is hiring. Help empower young minds in Lawrence County and become a superhero today. Apply at lcap.org.
Here in the brand new studios at LCAP, here for how about our SportsNet Spotlight podcast? How we like that one? We're still working on the name. We got a couple of ideas floating around. I know Lee will appreciate this one. We'll put it this way podcast.
Okay.
That's an old Shazi. If you went more than 10 minutes on a broadcast without Shazi giving us put it this way.
I'm looking at you across the table, Mr. Mo. Where's your shirt and tie that you said you were going to wear tonight?
Exactly.
I come from the office. I got to look somewhat professional. This is the most professional. Nobody can see me, but the most professional. Where's your shirt and tie?
You're lucky you get a collared shirt from me.
All right.
Unbelievable.
I could have worn one of my new high school shirts too.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But anyways, I did. Yeah, no shirt and tie tonight.
No shirt and tie tonight.
If it were on video, we would.
We'll have fun.
We're getting there. A couple things real quick I do want to mention. We're planning on doing this as a weekly show. Hoping to make this as a live show coming up in the near future as well. We'll keep you posted on that for sure. Want to give a shout out to all of the high schools out there, all of the journalism classes or broadcast media classes, because one of the features that we're going to do is around the county. And what we want to do is we're going to be focusing on football for the most part here during the fall. But we want to be able to give love to the soccer teams and the volleyball teams and everything else going on in the fall months. What we're asking is for students in high school to send us a 1 or 2 minute audio clip through your school, through your broadcasting class, through your journalism classes, English classes, what may be, and we'll put it on here. We'll go around the county and get little video clips from all 8 schools. So get that out there. Send me an email for more information. Just email us lcsportsnet@lccap.org, and we will make it happen.
It's interesting you say that because for years, back when in the Butler radio stations, they did that on a Saturday morning. They had a local reporter from every high school in Butler County would call in and give a report on every sport that was going on. They'd give it like a 3 to 4 minute report. We don't need that long, but anyways, it was nice to hear the cover all the different sports and not just football,
right?
Which is great.
Yeah, that's the idea here. I mean, that's how we were founded. We're going over 150 broadcasts this year in a dozen sports. We're continuing to grow, and we want you guys out there to grow here with us. Also, hopefully, starting next week, we're going to be doing some coaches interviews as well with some of the coaches across the county as well. So stay tuned as well for that. Next, though, we look at the week ahead. We talked about some of the teams already with Newcastle, Shenango, and Wilmington hosting games. So we got 5 of the 8 schools hosting games. The unfortunate part is one's not playing and the 2 others are traveling. At least they don't have to travel far in the county. Elwood City traveling to Laurel and Neshannock hosting Mohawk. Let's start there with the game at Bob Ledgy Stadium. Tim Continenza and Lee Moan will have the call for that one at good old Bob Ledgy Stadium. That was a game that... Eric, you and I actually saw that game at the end of the year last year. It was for the conference championship.
What a game.
What a game it was. 13-7 final as Neshannock ends up undefeated in the MAC. Again, they're now down in 1A, so this is a non-conference game. But the crazy part of it is Mohawk, almost a brand new team. Many seniors gone from last year. Neshannock, they've lost a few on the line, but they got returned a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, top 2 tight ends. there's a lot of players back here, Lee, for this team. It's going to be on paper, it looks like Neshannock should have the advantage, again, being at home. But again, it's Neshannock Mohawk. I'm not putting my money anywhere.
No, flip a coin. Mohawk's going to want some revenge, but Mohawk, but you lost Jay Rona, and they missed their everything. So how they're going to be able to compete with that, we'll find out. I mean, they're going to move Bobby Fadden, the quarterback, which a lot of everything we've all seen him. What an athlete Bobby Fadden is. We'll see what kind of offense Coach McCutcheon's going to have to deal with him. So it'd be interesting. And then new coach on the other side, Michael Bonjavengo for Neshannock. He's some coaching experience, but this means first year here replacing great Mazak, Coach Mo. And boy, what shoes to fill there, huh? After 10 years or 12 years.
We'll talk more about Coach Bonjavengo and Neshannock here in a minute. But Tim, I want to ask you about what we talked with Coach McCutcheon at his practice on Monday. You're torn either way, because if you do put Bobby Fadden, he's your program all-time leading receiver, and now you have to move him maybe the quarterback. You also have Joey Nail, who is a very good, capable quarterback, but then you take him away from his receiver tight end role. It's a tough situation.
It's a tough balance to find. And I think what you got to do, and I think what Coach is basically saying in between the lines is that he's going to find the one who's playing best at quarterback and feature them at that position. And the other one will be back at the normal position. Now, I think at times you may see just kind of flip just to show a different look and opportunities. But, I'm a firm believer, and I think most coaches will say the same thing, especially when you have such a major change at the quarterback position. You want your most athletic person there who can basically run the offense and see the field. I mean, if he has to take off and run, he can do it. If he can dump it off to a running back or a tight end, he can do it. If it's a throw down the middle, he can make that throw. I think that's really what they're looking to see. Which one of the two can really take control of that position? I mean, worst case scenario is both of them play about the same level, and then you have to really make a decision.
Yeah. The issue, Eric, though, is protecting whoever it is at quarterback, right? When you lose 3 all-conference linemen.
And who's going to run the ball, too? That's the other thing for
You do have
Mohawk.
Sam Lisk back. He missed most of last year, and they're really high on that sophomore Cass Stratton.
I know,
but it's not. You're right.
It's not just in Boston, right? Yeah, and that's a big loss. So we need to see one of those guys sort of become the alpha male running the football early in the season. Honestly, I mean, I'm not a big fan of taking a guy like Fadden away from the wide receiver position, but he is the best player on the field for them. You probably want your best player touching the ball as many times as you can.
That's the whole theory behind it.
So maybe you put him at the starting quarterback spot. I don't know what they do. Now, remember in the game last year, I actually went back and watched that game a couple weeks ago just for the heck of it. I needed to kind of get some football vibes in me. But remember Fadden threw the trick play early in the game and it got picked off. And then they kind of put a lid on Jay Rona the rest of the night. He didn't really throw much down the field. They didn't really take any chances. He got picked off late in the game then again. So I don't know that it's going to be much different for Mohawk the whole season this year as to what that game was. That was a really weird game last year. Now, Neshannock's defense played really good. They really dropped a lot of guys back. They caused a lot of problems for some of those routes. But I sort of think that's what's going to happen with Mohawk, at least early in the season. I don't know that we're going to see many chances taken from that offense until one of those guys gets a rhythm and maybe has a hot hand in a game for a couple weeks. But I'm more a fan of when it's who do you trust the most in that offense?
Yeah.
You trust Bobby Fadden the most. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Question, yeah.
So until these other guys develop, he's now the leader of this team. Put the ball in his hands. He's more athletic than Jay was. No knock on Jay, but Fadden, I think, could run the football from the quarterback spot if they want him to. I think you have to kind of put it in his hands, and if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, you switch it and hope that you can salvage something.
And the good thing about week one is it's non-conference, so they can play both. They can try different things.
Week 0. It's still officially week 0, as much as we all hate it. It's
Tim and I probably won't be referring to week 0 on our Friday. Probably.
You and I are in the same boat there.
Yeah.
Tell you what,
they
Lee.
gave the man a soundboard.
I know. Look out.
You should have known better.
It's not good.
Let's flip over to Neshannock, though, real quick. Coach Bonjavengo, again, was the offensive coordinator last year for that Neshannock team. He's been all over the place, Lee, with some pretty high pedigree stuff. And talk about a football family. He's now the third generation to be a head coach in Lawrence County alone, with his father Frank coaching at Newcastle, his father Frank Sr. coaching at Shenango. Oh, by the way, they're both on the staff as well.
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah. He played under his dad as a quarterback. He was a second-team All-State Fab 22, and he was on that championship team for Newcastle back in 2009. So, pretty good pedigree coming from behind. He coached in South Carolina, North Carolina. So now he's getting his chance here in Western Pennsylvania to establish something here, which I'm looking forward to see what kind of offense and what he does here.
You know, he said not much is going to change, right, Tim? And I'll tell you what, if the excitement level gets any higher, we might have to check and make sure that he still has a pulse, because, oh my goodness, it was so much fun talking to him.
I think he was ready. It was day one of, contact, and he was. You think it was week 4 of the season already. He was that much ready for this, training camp to really get underway and put it in his system and get it going for the this coming football season. And what an energetic guy, and it should be interesting to see. And like you mentioned, they got a lot of players coming back. They're going to be Neshannock. So yeah, I don't expect them to have a major drop off at any level. I think they're going to play Neshannock Lancers football. What we've always expect, a big offensive line, trying to control the game and doing, what's necessary to win ball games, especially in the third and fourth quarter. That's who they are and that they have been. And I think that's going to continue under the new leadership.
Yeah, and you got a game breaker in Anthony Eakin that can break it at any time.
And that's like you said, the game changer, because he could do it in the first quarter, he could do it in the fourth quarter.
And, you also have Gino Mazzocco thrown into Dom Cubelis, but Gino with a whole year under his belt, Eric.
I just wonder, that was going to be my point, is that how much more do they give him to do offensively? Will they throw the ball a little bit more? He might have to take off and scramble out of the pocket early in the season, too, till they break some of these new linemen in. Tony Parada, I think, is the only returning starter up front for them.
Also Veronese, Joey Veronese,
so
two of the five.
Yeah,
yes.
so they have building blocks up front, which is fine. I mean, we sort of thought, and I remember we talked about this after that game last year, when they got knocked out by Beaver Falls in the playoffs, how good they were going to be this year. And it's like, yeah, they were losing all these linemen, but they should be fine. They have some other big dudes that are behind them that maybe didn't play a whole lot, but I think they'll be okay. But I just wonder how much they're going to let Gino throw the ball a little bit more, if that changes at all, and if they maybe get him a little bit more mobile and throw on the run. Because last year when he moved, a lot of it was just take off and run. It wasn't throw on the run. Maybe they do that a little bit more this year too.
Students of the game. That was the main thing that Coach Bonjavingo talked about when we were there on Monday. And the other thing I want to mention too, yes, only 2 starters are back, but the other 3 all rotated in at times over the course of the year. So they do have some experience. Oh, and they have 2 tight ends that are both returning as well. So if they go jumbo package at any point, they have some big hogs to open up the lane for both Mazzocco and Anthony Eakin. That game, 7 o'clock at Neshannock High School to open up the year. Mohawk at Neshannock. No better way to start it. Tim Continenza, Lee Moan will be on the call for that one. Here on our preview show podcast, it's brought to you each week by Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Let Penn Ohio Bottled Water do the heavy lifting and bring refreshing water straight to your door. We're going to have the other game, Eric Thomas and myself on the call, out at the Leonard S. Rich Complex, Spartan Stadium. And before we talk about Elwood City at Laurel, Lee Moan, I'll let you do the honors of the Laurie Heights celebration, and Eric, let Eric know what he's going to be in for his first trip up there to Laurel High School.
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be pulled pork sandwiches. This is what I'm hoping for you. Yeah, Laurie. But remember, the first week sometimes is not.
That's true. That is true.
So you might have to get him another game somewhere along the way to get the full effects, which I'm sure he'll be all about. But yeah, Laurie Heights. Did she retired? But she didn't retire.
So she still has one more year. So her retirement doesn't come into effect until after this year. So she does have one more year, but she is. Don't worry, she is still making the food on Friday nights.
Get him another game, because the first week a lot of times is just a scaled down version of what to expect for the rest of the season.
So now that Lee has talked about the important stuff, Eric, let's you and me talk about what we're going to see from this Laurel team.
James and I coming. You got to roll this red carpet out for. There's Thanksgiving dinner. Let's go. Come on.
Well, Shawsey was there. It'd be
I still remember my first trip up there was it was pizza night. She had your standard pizzas, but also a chili dog pizza, a meatball sub pizza.
Oh, my Lord.
And there was one other really... a meatloaf pizza.
Going to buy season tickets for Laurel, I think.
It was, yeah.
I still show off
should.
the picture of the table that I had from, it was homecoming. No, I think it was either homecoming or it was senior night. And they had the wedding soup. And
That's senior night.
Yeah.
The
It was
homemade
just,
weddings.
unbelievable.
Homemade wedding
spread,
soup.
yeah. I mean,
So
it was
the
so
issue
much.
here now, folks listening at home, is that now I have to do the scheduling, and I have to make 2 people upset each week.
And I didn't get the Laurel last year.
You didn't either, huh?
No, I did not.
Oh, really? Well, interesting. All right, well, you can stay at home then.
Yeah.
No banana bread for you.
Banana cake.
Banana cake, that's
Banana
it,
cake,
yes.
that's
But let's
More
talk
for
about
us.
this
It's like
Laurel
football
team real
now.
quick, Eric. Talking football, actually, no kidding, right? 3 seniors graduated from last year's team. A lot of players back, but still a very young squad coming in this year. You know what Laurel football is going to bring, though. They're going to work with the run game first. They're going to ground and pound. They're going to do their thing.
And if you're Laurel, you really hope that your offensive line shows some physicality early in the season and early in games, because last year, a little too often, they got pushed around early in games, couldn't find any momentum, and they just weren't able to really bounce back when they got down in games. I want to see a little bit more out of Lucas Santini. I think he's ready to take the next step as a quarterback, but that's also going to be predicated on their offensive line. If they're physical, if they push people around, if they can run the football and sort of take some pressure off of him, this doesn't have to be the monster year for him, but this has to be, hey, we know we can rely on him, and when he comes back next year, we expect him to be the man. But all up front, they want physicality, and if they get it early in a game and they get that running game humming and he can make some plays from the quarterback spot, this might be the year that they can take that next step.
They also are a little bit more healthy, too. Jackson Sauter's kind of a wildcat quarterback, one of the top wide receivers. He was playing with a bum ankle all year long. Colton Carlson didn't play until 4th or 5th week into the year, and he came on strong at the end of the year. Lee, I know you really liked what Colton brought to the table, but it is 1A football. It's about staying healthy, and they do have
It really is.
Again, it's still a young offensive line, but you have guys back with some experience. And talk about fully healthy. Max Shevitz, they're leading the way on that line, too.
Yeah, and hopefully he can stay healthy with the reconstructed second-time knee or whatever the heck it was. You know, I said Max Shevitz will definitely lead the way, but Laurel has been finding running backs the last few years, too, so we'll see if one really steps up to become that 1,000-yard rusher. They've had a couple really good ones the last few years.
Tim, Coach said he really likes what Nathan Hill can do, and he was very complimentary about how those players have worked behind the line.
And I think that's the key, is that he has eyes on someone that he think he can use in certain situations. And obviously, if they can get into the secondary, get past that initial defensive front seven, that they can get those 7, 8, 9-yard gains. And those are so important, for this Laurel team to be able to get into the secondary and set up second down and 3 and 4 or 2 situations and really open up what they can do. I mean, not that they're going to throw the ball, but there's a lot more options you have. They're going to run. Yeah. Let's be honest. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. And then when you're not looking, they're going to throw the ball. And then they're going to run the ball again. And that's just who they are. But that's all right. It's very successful.
Right. Talk about successful and talking about a potential surprise team. We started with Newcastle. Let's finish with Elwood City. Team, they've only won 2 conference championships in their program history. But if there's a team that is prepped and potential to do it, Eric, it is this Elwood City team that returns 10 starters on both sides of the ball, a very senior-laden class, and a team that has just developed more and more now under third-year head coach Dan Bradley.
Finally, I mean, they've been begging for a class to roll in here and go 3-4 years and really develop into something special. They have potential for it this year. I really found it interesting that our friends down in Elwood City who do all the media things, the EC Wolverines guys, when they talked to some of the players earlier in camp, they asked Chris Smiley, the quarterback, what he expects out of the season. He's a very soft-spoken kid. Like, he doesn't really sort of, he's not a hype guy. He's not a rah-rah kind of guy. He's very quiet, very poised. He said he wants to be more involved on drives. He wants to make more plays on drives. And what I thought was interesting about that comment is, and seeing them twice last year, that to me meant that he thought he wasn't confident in himself last year. And what changed? What made him feel that way? What now made him do a 180 with that. I mean, he's obviously got one of the best running backs in the entire WPIL behind him. He's got talent at the wide receiver spots. He's got a really good offensive line. Evan Twaddell is fantastic. That kid better be going to college somewhere above a D3 or D2 level next year. I think he's that good. Caden Daccio, we know he's a wrecking ball on defense. He can be a really good asset as a tight end. So he has all these skilled players around him. Why was he not confident last year? And what flipped that? And is he going to follow through on it? And that's a big thing for them to have if they're gonna be successful. This team's a playoff team. 100% they're a playoff team this season. They may win a playoff game. They may host a playoff game. I think they might actually compete for that division. With Beaver Falls taking a little bit of a step back, new head coach there, Nick Nardone's gone, but they lost some guys due to graduation.
Neshannock moving down.
Exactly.
Mohawk's going to be in who knows.
I mean, the target sort of is, it's like it's not on their back, but it is in a way. How do they handle that, and what are they going to show in this first game, and can they ride any kind of momentum the rest of the way? But a lot of the focus for me is going to be on Chris Smiley, what he does. And, when they get inside the goal line, it's easy just to hand off to Elijah Palmer McCain. Will they let him throw the football like inside the 5, inside the 10? Take more chances, throw the ball downfield, be a little bit more aggressive as a quarterback. If he feels that early, this team can do a whole lot more than we saw last year. And he was really successful last year at throwing the football. That's the scary thing. So if this kid wants to be more involved, and he threw for almost 1,700 yards last year, how much better does he want to be? Like, he's already the school's leading passer. Like, how much better does he want to be? And if he follows through on that, they can be a really, really dangerous team.
Well, you mentioned with EPM, because he's just 39 yards away from being the all-time leading rusher. And you talk about going to college. How about he doesn't have any college offers
Ridiculous.
yet?
Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
It's just shocking when you hear that. I did not know that, and that just amazes me. But hopefully by the end of the year, he'll have multiple choices to have. But talking about Smiley, I think one thing you're talking about, Eric, and one thing that I think we seen last year was some of his decision-making. It was not at the level that probably he wants to be this year.
You're right.
And I think, we seen him force some passes and overthrow some guys that were open and stuff like that. His decision-making, if he takes that next step there, then this offense is going to be really difficult to stop.
When we did the game last year with them in Beaver Falls, and remember that they led that game at one point twice. Actually,
Correct.
I think they led that game twice. They led it 7-0, and then I think they led it 12-7, or they had two leads in that game, or 14-12, somewhere in that range. But what in that game, they hardly got anything out of Palmer McCain. I mean, he ran his tail off in that game, and I think only ended up with like 50 yards. I mean, and that was a monster Beaver Falls front.
Defense, exactly.
That's the exact type of game that if they get in this year, they expect that young man at quarterback to bail them out. If he is unable to find running lanes, or the other defense is really like bottling him up, that's where the pressure goes on Chris Smiley. And if he responds to that challenge, this team, I mean, it's
great
limitless.
Potential.
It's limitless,
It really does.
I think the other thing, Lee, we got to talk about real quick, though, is the defense that allowed too many points last year, a couple too many high-scoring games. But that's been the focus in the offseason as well, as the defensive intensity. I mean, Eric mentioned Daccio especially, but that's a strong defensive front led again by Twaddell. I think the defense is going to be much, much better than what we saw a year ago.
Yeah, it's going to have to be. Without a doubt. And Coach Bradley, I have all the confidence in the world in him. He's won at Our Lady of Sacred Heart. He's won at different places, So, and he has this team heading in the right direction. And back to Eric's point, if that team hosts a first round game, the opposing team's fans won't get in the stadium because
First of all, the streets are too narrow to begin with.
Elwood City's
literally they won't get in.
They've been dying for a winner. Sort of like Butler has for many years. They've been just dying for a winner, and that.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Amazing.
I mean, you talk about people being in the streets, no way to get in. I'm not sure how many places you see in Western Pennsylvania where people are watching the first day of practice from the streets.
Right.
No affiliation with the team or a player, and they say they come down every year and they're watching that first day of practice from the streets, and that just tells you what kind of community that is, and they are dying for it. They've seen it the last 4 years, some great basketball being played out there at Elwood City. They're ready for that football team to make their next run. It starts with that non-conference game up in Spartan Country. Elwood City at Laurel. No, it is not a Big Ten matchup, Wolverines and Spartans, but Eric and I will be on the call for that one, 7 o'clock on Friday. Again, real quick, the other games going on. Newcastle hosting General McLean, Shenango hosting New Brighton, and Wilmington hosting Greenville. By the way, that Wilmington-Greenville, you can listen and watch on our friends Sports Radio 96.7, Mercer County Radio. We'll have the call for that one, so we'll have updates for that one throughout the course of Friday night as well. We invite you to tune in each and every week, lcsportsnet.com on Friday nights, and for our other games throughout the course of the week as well. We will have at least one either soccer or volleyball match each week throughout the fall. The only week that we might not have that is the week of the band festival, so we will at least have the band festival on that Wednesday as well, and we will be doing, as we have mentioned, this podcast scheduled to go out every Wednesday as we preview the big games coming up this week in the county of Lawrence. Lee Moan, Tim Continenza, Eric Thomas. Gentlemen, we're off and running, and I have a feeling we'll be doing this quite frequently.
Looking forward to it.
Should be interesting. And the fact that, again, we got two teams in 1A that are starting out ranked, you know, when it's not Union either. So let's see what these teams have in store.
Going to be a lot of fun. We thank everybody again for their support. Keep tuning in. Make sure you subscribe however you're listening or watching us. Again, today's podcast brought to you by Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Give them a call for delivery of your 3 or 5 gallon water cooler systems, or get case of bottles delivered straight to your home or work as we deliver you the big games each Friday night here in the Lawrence County SportsNet, powered by LCAT. Your voice for Lawrence County sports.
The gold ball headed home to Newcastle.
This is the Lawrence County SportsNet.